Well, well, well. It's another Thursday night in the lounge. Let's get this going. Cheers. What are you drinking?
Uh, beers. I haven't poured it yet though.
Uh, Too bad for you. Okay. Um, we got a lot to cover tonight. I've been trying to get cheers. Come on.
All right. Quick. Cheers, cheers. This
One
side, this side.
this side.
You're on the wrong side. You're on the wrong side. Get over. Oh no, it's another Hashem highlight reel. Here we go. God.
Anyways, only one drink tonight, guys. Got a lot to cover tonight. You're going to want to share this out. Stefanos, as you know, used to be in the chicken farming business. And we're going to be bringing on Edward Embry. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he's going to be giving us some updates with what's going on with our food supply, farming, gardening. And I say we have to, when I catch wind of this kind of information and it's legit, we got to pass it on. That's why we do what we do. We don't make any money from this. Just trying to share information so our fellow man can be better prepared for what's coming down the pipe, because you ain't going to get, well, tonight's the only exception. Sometimes the CBC actually does publish some of this stuff, but I looked, I couldn't find it. Anyways, Ed Still from the Napanee area, has been farming, I think, most of his life. Second, third generation going on already. I know his sons are farmers also. So he's daily doing the farming thing. And let's bring him on. And remember, share this out, guys. People need to know what we're going to be discussing tonight. Ed, you ready to come on? Give me a thumbs up. All right. Welcome to the lounge.
How are you, Ed?
Good. Well, not so good. I started reading what we're going to be putting up here. And I don't know. I'm going to let explain people to you. How long have you been farming now?
I'm 65 years old. I've been farming all my life. So this is actually a sixth generational farm. So my grandparents, my great grandparents started it. And now I'm here from my son, my wife, and we have a huge farming operation in the village of Newburgh, Ontario.
And for people that don't know, between Toronto and Kingston is a town called Napanee, and he's about 10 minutes from the town of Napanee.
Yes. So we have hogs, beef, cattle, poultry. We have a store on our property. We sell farm equipment, and we have a grain elevator. We do a lot of things.
So you make your own feed, you make your own seed, make your own animals.
We don't make all our own feed. No, that's almost impossible. We do make some of our seed, but no, we have to buy seed to plant.
Ooh, you can't make your own. No way, no how, or what?
There's no the technology for that, especially for the corn. We could do it, but we'd have to make a very large investment if we were going to do that.
Yeah, Ed, just so you know, when we were farming full steam, and this is even back when everything was cheaper, we actually planted our field with corn and everything to feed to our chickens to try to save on feed money, right? No, not cost effective.
Sign of the times, I guess.
No, I
Anyway.
could go through that quickly. But yeah, I didn't catch the other person's name. I'm sorry.
I'm Stefanos, Steph for short. If you can't do the whole thing.
Okay, Steph, you're right on. The feed thing is a huge problem on the farm now, especially with the specialty. I would say more specialty animals. It's become a huge problem. So feed is a very big problem on the farm. But we try to we try to feed an all grain ration. So that's basically what we do with minerals, what minerals in it, and of course the protein. But that's but we're in a situation right now, and we have been for many years, where I wanted to start off just giving you everybody an overview of what can on the global food supply, where we're at. I mean, the problem we have is not so much on the farming end of it, though we've lost a lot of farms. Certainly, I mean, in the poultry industry, we used to have 3,000 egg producers in the province of Ontario. We're down to less than 150. We used to have 8,000 hog producers. We're down to 400.
Yeah,
I mean,
and for the meat producing, that Ed, back in I think it was around 2010, around there, we were down to like 1,500 farms, like Canada wide.
correct. There's really, and I don't think the population knows, but the problem is really is not on the farming end of it. It's on the on the production or on the processing end of it. Whereas in Olds, Alberta, you have one, which is owned by a U.S. company, Cargill, which processes or slaughters 47% of Canada's beef in one plant. That wouldn't be that bad in a way, but in Ontario, we only have one beef plant, and that beef plant slaughters about 75% of the beef in Ontario. We only have one. I'm talking federal plants. We have provincial plants, but their output is very small. A federal plant sells everything into. It's allowed to export, and then those federal plants all sell into all your chain stores, box stores, everything like that. That's where federal meat goes. So
Yeah, it may be, so people who don't understand. I don't know if it's like this for every aspect of farming, but I know on the poultry end of it, they literally closed all the small plants. They can't exist. You're tied to places like Maple Lodge, Maple Leaf, and they're actually forcing you to sign into 5-year contracts with them, which to me, that's just monopolizing. It's getting rid of everybody else in between, and then they get a monopoly on it. It's unconstitutional because the government's forcing this on you through the boards, and we need to get rid of the boards. Like they got rid of it, the wheat board, they got rid of them. They had to end up. I think they stole something like $6 or $13 million went with them that just disappeared. That belonged to the farmers, but the boards are a big problem. They really are a big problem in this monopolizing. And farming, at least as far as poultry farmers go, there hasn't been a raise since like the 70s. It's been staying that. And the farmer is the one who foots all the bills. They're doing the heating, the hydro, the feeding, the buying the livestock or the chicks, or they're footing the bill on everything, and then it goes to the processing plant, and then they got their crap. It's mainly machines. There's some stuff that's by people still, and then it goes to the store. So who's really paying for everything is the farmer. The other guys are just making money hand over fist off the backs of the farmers.
yeah, some of that what you're saying is true. I mean, there's only really in the meat chicken industry, there's only really 5 processors left in Canada. Like in beef, there's only really 3. In the hog industry, you only have 2 in Ontario left, and then you have Ole Mill in Quebec, which is partially owned by the Quebec government, and you have Maple Leaf out in Manitoba, and then some smaller ones in the west. But you really, when you throttle this all down, you really only have about 20 entities that's controlling all the protein in Canada. The problem is that the government is really how they got around this, or how they have is that they made the boards the first receiver. So you can't have another board. You can't market because let's say the milk board is the first receiver of all the milk in Ontario. So all the milk has to funnel through the board, and then it funnels through the boards and then to the processors. This is how the control arm works. Of course, over the years, these processors have just bought up all the smaller processors, and now, most of the food, I'm guessing, and I don't think I'm going to be too far off, that 85% of the food comes from these processors. That the next problem we have is, of course, is that they're very integrated with American processors, and of course they're very integrated with the banking world or the finance world. They wouldn't be operating without that financial arm of the finance world. In fact, they own shares. And a little story is back 2 years ago, Ole Mill, which is the biggest hog processor in Canada out of Quebec, they've got so big that they not only process pigs, they own pigs. What they did is they bought the 5 biggest family farms up in Quebec. Those 4 of those farms own processing plants. They closed those processing plants down and then pushed everything through their plants. But 2 years ago, they closed down 2 of their plants. And what happened is that cut 5 million pigs in a year. Yearly production of 5 million pigs, 2.5 million from Ontario, 2.5 million from Quebec. So what the problem, or what they did, is behind the scenes, is they gave money to McGill University, and McGill University did a study for them. Of course, what the study was is growing bugs. So we're headed for that. The processors that are processing meat now are aligning themselves with the WEF. In fact, if you go on to WF, you'll see these companies align with them, and this is the flow we're going. And I don't think there's any. I don't believe there's any way out of it, out of this dance. There's no way out of it. So we're going to have to live with it. We're going to have to find local food the best we can, support our local farmers, and but for many people, that's a very hard thing to do. Just a little bit about myself. This all started for me in 1993. I woke up to the fact that these things were happening. At first I didn't believe it. So what I did is I went to Queen's University. Queen's University is the biggest library outside the Library of Parliament, and I spent a couple years there in the library, in both the law side and then the other side of the Queen's University. I spent hours in there pulling out books, and that made me a believer. Of course, there wasn't the internet like there is today. And what happened was I become a researcher. I have did a lot of research for Bible prophecy groups and that in the USA. I do research for politicians, USA and here. And then I started it down this line of course, the whole COVID thing. I did a group here locally. We had the lowest vaccinating rate in Ontario. We had 3,400 and some members, and fought a really good battle on that. Got the word out. I would say we caused quite a disturbance, and then of course I started hooking up with all kinds of other people across the whole Ontario, Canada, and then as this fight become in Europe on the farming agriculture side, I joined that fight through Zoom meetings and podcasts there to get the word out of what's actually going on. So I have we have a large farming operation. We're virtually in every sector. I know my skill is because I'm an older man, is I've hooked up with a lot of the CEOs in a lot of these companies and on a personal relationship with them. So I guess backdoor messages, I guess you would call it, of what actually is going on behind the scenes. That's what I've been doing since 1993. Of course, I've been writing a lot of letters to politicians. I stopped that 2 years ago because I feel we've reached the Rubicon, and I don't think that we can. I know this is what I'm going to say is I don't think we can win this war. It's God's to win, so that's the only win we can muster, other than trying to beat it. I don't think we can actually beat this.
Well, you know what? The farmers need, like, they put those boards into power, and the farmers need to take them out. Those boards were put in to begin with in order to because there was, plainly put, there was shitty negotiators and they couldn't negotiate their own prices, and I'm speaking strictly from the poultry side of things. So if, let's say, we negotiated a 10 cents price with the processor, then you would have somebody else, maybe a nickel, maybe 4 cents. They sucked. And then, they would talk to us and we'd be like, oh, we're getting 10 cents. They would flip out and call there and they would fight back and forth. The other big problem is supply and demand. I believe Canada is the only country in the world still using that system, which sucks. Back in the 70s, when I was just a little pinhead, I was at the protest at the border because they were flooding Ontario with Quebec chickens and U.S. chickens. And they would flood us so much that we could not get any of our, like, let's say we had a 50,000 quota. We couldn't grow 50,000. We were limited to 22, 28, 25,000. And that's all we could grow because we're being flooded by everybody else. So even though we never operated at max capacity because we're being flooded. And then the other joke is the export quota. When you wanted to do export, you couldn't because you wouldn't make any money on it. It would cost you like freaking more than anything from these stupid boards. And the chicken board, they turned around, and what they had done was they tried a stupid project, and they were like under the guise of getting young farmers in it, and they had a cutoff age. I think it was somewhere around the 40-year-old age mark, and they would give you up to, I think it was like 10 million worth in quota or something like that, and you only had 10 years to freaking pay this back. And if you actually done the math and you're not operating at full capacity, there's absolutely no way in the world within 10 years you would make that money back. And they were expecting a full payment at the end, or you lose the quota. So this is, impossible things. So that even stopped any young farmers from getting into it. It's impossible to get into any of that. So they've been continually cutting everybody off, and this is why we're part of the reason why we're losing farms at such an alarming rate.
Like I told you, Steph and Ed, I'm an expert at this whole deal. I can tell you, my family, we brought the quota system in, and it first started in the egg business and the milk business. That's where it started. I rode in the back of a Lincoln car coming from Toronto, and there was a vote in Toronto, and the egg board and the milk board and that was all set up. At the time, we virtually had we had no way, like you say, to stop the flow of commodities or products coming in from the USA. They flooded us. But the board, the egg board, all the boards, I would have to say, I'm not for them today. But I'd have to say at the time I would have to say I was absolutely for them, because we would have been out of business. We were producing eggs for and making nothing, zero, losing money. We made money. I think the whole farming industry on the protein side has made money. But I think the whole situation here is that it, whether you take before the quotas were set up, or you take it now when the quotas are in, what you have to look at is actually the banking world, because farmers needed money at that time to operate. And what happened is, under Trudeau, they changed the banking laws, and when he did that, he virtually took a third of the farmers out of the picture. They were gone. So then, what's happened is in this, a price of a cow for a quota is about $30,000. A chicken is like $250 for a bird per cow. The problem is that industry is making money. It cash flows, but we thought about getting in the poultry industry and the broiler industry. That's meat chickens. You're right. It would take 20 years to pay that quota off, and the only way you pay it off is by the increase that you would get, because consumption keeps going up, and when consumption goes up, they give you a 3% increase in quota, which is worth, that might be, they just give you $250,000, and that's the only way that you actually are making money, because your net worth is going up. The problem is that the banking world is now, what they did is they loan money on the quota, so you can borrow money on your quota. So in the last 15 years, especially in the dairy side of it, the farmers have all borrowed huge amounts of money and got themselves into debt in a tremendous way. And this is not just across Canada. This is a worldly event across the whole world. Money's been ready available to these farmers to borrow. And I'm going to go into that a little deeper here. I guess I should do it right now while I'm thinking about it. But anyhow, this is the problem. So you got your processor, your bank, and then they're buying off the farmer, and the farmers are. The problem is in the beef industry, pork industry, and the chicken industry, we shrank them. We shrank everything down. The family farmer is getting to virtually a thing of the past. Used to be on the beef side of it. Some guys kept some beef cattle, worked out, and it was extra revenue for them. But here in Ontario, that's really slowed down. The only farmers that are left are the cowboys that are roaming the range with their animals on their land with their beef cattle. That's the only really freedom farmers that we have truthfully left. Those guys are still roaming the range. They have the freedom, but they still are prohibited, because when they put their animals either at the sales barn or they sell them, the final end is at the processor, and the processors are, you might as well, they're just I'm trying to think of a good word, but I can't. They're virtually
milking the cow per se.
So this problem has been systemic for a lot of years, and each time through the whole process, the money exchangers, I guess let's call them that, they have been there, and they're ruling the roost. They're providing the finance for the farmers, but it's worse than what everybody thinks. And the problem is in Ontario, we're going to start planting our crops very soon. Next few weeks, we're going to start planting. 95% of the farmers in Ontario, and this would again be in every province, every state, every country around the world. But here in Ontario, farmers that plant grain, and you can get this loan also for animals. They get a loan for 1.5% less prime. They have to apply. They have to have crop insurance, but they can get up to $500,000 per entity. They can get, and then so 95% of the farmers get that. That's how they get their money. They don't now magically, just magically, it appears in your bank account magically, and you have to tell them what bank you are dealing with and so on, and then you get your money so you can buy your seed, your fertilizer, all your inputs, your fuel, whatever, and then that loan has to be paid back. Usually start like it has different, I guess, payment schedules, what crop you would grow, so wheat, soybeans, corn, but that money has to be paid back in full. And now on the where I'm going with this is that if something happened, and there's a few scenarios, if there's a drought, now, okay, like last year we had a drought here, so we had crop insurance, but the crop insurance and our bills were virtually the same, so we didn't make any money. So most farmers didn't make anything. What they survived on was years in the past. This year, if we have another drought condition or something else would happen, then they're going to have to start selling land or assets to survive.
Yeah, and that's one of their goals is they actually want to get farmers off of the rural areas and into the cities. But add everything that you're saying, everything that I've said, and add now you got municipalities trying to put on all these bylaws, and then you got these environmentalist idiots trying to come in and none of these morons have ever stepped a foot on a farm in their life, and they're trying to come up with regulation and everything else. So they have no clue on anything. Like, farmers are not monsters. Farmers do not destroy their land. They do not destroy their animals. They don't treat them poorly. They don't do any of that stuff that the places like PETA like to make those propaganda videos and show them the idiots who never have left the city a day in their life. And you add all that stuff on there, and then you have even a bigger problem. You've seen what they're trying to do with nutrient management. You see, all these restrictions they're trying to put under the environment. Then you got all these crazy things that they're doing, which makes it even harder. And at the end of the day, it's your property. They need to get out of your property because they have no right, title, and interest to it. A farmer is going to know what's best for their land, their product. It's not like it's, the first day on the job for them. They don't know what they're doing. It's the other people who are making regulations and stuff that don't know what they're doing. And they're the ones that are causing even a bigger problem when they start adding all these different restrictions and stuff on the properties. It's all part of a grab.
I agree with you, Steph. But the problem is that at our whatever commodity, whether it's beef, cattle, hogs, milk, chicken, eggs, whatever commodity, those groups have all bought into this whole global mess that we're like. They bought into the global warming. They bought into everything. Very few farmers are standing up and talking out about this. They started, of course, they really got going in Europe, but and of course in the Netherlands they elected their own farm organization. They did that, but we're a very small minority of the. And if you go talk to farmers, they're like most people. They really don't understand what's really going on, because other than food and egg, my specialty is finance. Finance, Bible prophecy. Those are my food, egg. That's what my specialties are. The problem is that most of these farm real people really have no idea what's going on. They don't even know where they think when they take their cattle to the sales barn, that's their final destination. You tell them that, like I told you, Cargill has virtually 60% of the beef kill in Canada. They don't know that. They have no idea. So
yeah, and Cargill's very large, and they're into everything. Like I know they were in the turkeys. You know, they were in a lot of the different industries of the farming.
Correct. That's totally correct. They're the biggest. They're not the biggest, but they're maybe second or third biggest egg producer. They're second or third biggest meat chicken producer. They're one of the top turkey producers. They're the second largest grain buyer in the world. The problem what you have, and I really don't want to go into the total details, but I'm telling you that if you put a name up of any of these big agri companies, you can trace them right back to the money supply. So the problem we have here is for us, most of this food is coming from even though there's big farms, they're getting bought up. There's before COVID, 7 years ago, I was just at home. It was a rainy day. A knock came to my door. I opened the door up, and a man was standing there, and he said, "Hey, I'm from so and so, and I'm just in the area, and I'm interested in buying your farm. Have a buyer for it." I'm like, okay. Just what I just told you, that goes all across Canada. They fly over planes. They know where these farms are. They're not picking out the ones that got the boards all falling off the barn and the wheels are not on the tractors. They're picking out the best productive land in this area right now. I'm going to say that 25% of the land, good farmland, is owned by the Chinese. They have a milk plant in Kingston that's just sitting there on idle. The Ontario government put $250 million in. The federal government put $250 million in. The city of Kingston didn't or not taxing them for 25 years. It's sitting there. Why is it sitting there? Because somebody knows something. Somebody knows something, and what they know.
And they're using stuff like the Terranet. That also ties in everything. So this is all for land banking. This is all for everything you're talking about. And one of the reason why I'm bringing up anything that I'm bringing up is because you know and I know. I don't know how much Ed knows, but this is for our audience. So we just want to put that info out there so they understand, because a lot of them are, they're going to be clueless when it comes to any of this stuff.
So I think we kind of covered that. I think people are kind of getting have got the feeling of where we're at. We have no and as far as a pushback from people, we're at the point that there's no way to push back. The food supply is to make that kind of ground up to supply food for people. There's no way. There's no way to push back on this thing. It's checkmate. They got us in checkmate position. So unless the farmers really smarten up, and I don't believe they will. So and the way this is going to go down is we don't need, if you go into the grocery store and you look at the bread or meat aisle or milk aisle or cheese aisle or any of the. We don't need 30 some different kinds of bread. We don't need 20 different kinds of bacon, and we don't need 20 different kinds of milk, and we don't need all that 50 different kinds of ice cream. You're going to see that, and I know this I can tell you certainly, because I'm hearing it from the people I talked about, that you're going to see that shrunk right down to virtually nothing. Like, you're going to have vanilla ice cream and maybe a couple other flavors, and that's it. You're going to see this whole thing shrink down. There's not going to be no.
Go ahead. Sorry.
There's not going to be no waste, but what that means is that you're going to reduce the farming population likely by 30%. You're going to reduce the farmers.
So during the COVID stuff, Campbell's Soup, they used to have all those different types of soups. They had tons of them. Well, they reduced them down to like maybe 8, I think it was, somewhere around there. They started doing that stuff during COVID. They started cutting them down. I know.
And who owns Campbell's Soup? You know?
No, go ahead.
It's the old guy. I can't think of it. I meant it's the old guy that has all the money. The big investor in the world. Oh, it doesn't matter, but he owns Campbell's Soup. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
You're talking about Warren Buffett?
Warren Buffett.
Hathaway?
Correct.
He owns Campbell's Soup.
You're correct.
Ooh.
Correct. And he bought it from, who owned that was the, Kerry, is it?
Berkshire half of the way.
No, he was under Carter, was it? President Carter?
Well, it's not Warren Buffett. It says here it's the Dorrance family, and they're also, or the descendants of the Dorrance family, it's called, and they also, along with Vanguard and BlackRock, those are the owners of Campbell's Soup.
Okay. Oh, okay, for sure.
They own all the dealerships in Welland too. They own all the dealerships there. Also, all the vehicles BlackRock does. So they're into everything. They got all the money. They've been buying everything right up.
Sure, you're right, but I mean, and that's the situation we're in. So getting off that merry-go-round, where we're at with right now with it, and maybe Ed can put the my thing up there, my letter or my. So the situation is, we covered the first line there, that there's very few plants for farmers to send their animals or their vegetables to. North America's beef herd is cut by 47%. And I can tell you, there is absolutely no way, no how. It'll take a lifetime to bring that back up to where you will be buying beef at a reasonable price. 100-pound day-old calf, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, mostly right around $1,500 for 100-pound day-old calf. So we're going to see those prices are going to increase. If you haven't locked up your supply of food, across Ontario has had lots of meetings, and in those meetings I asked people like where they're going to get, if there was no milk at the store, where would they get their milk. I listed a whole bunch of different items, and people failed miserably. These are supposed to be our freedom people, and I'm sorry, freedom people, but
they're pretty clueless. I know that for a fact. A lot of them actually run around act like communists, so there's nothing to do with freedom at all. They're just as lost.
Because I was sick of people. I'm sorry to. I'm a truthful guy. I was sick of them lying to me. So I said, here, fill these this one-page thing out of where you stand on. You say you're ready, where you stand, and they fill all the aspects out. And when I took them all in and added them all up, it only scored 37%. So people are going to be in trouble because what's coming now with this closing of this strait, and everybody's heard about one of the things that's really going to, you may be able to live without a gallon of gas or a gallon of diesel, but I'd like to see people living without no food, and that's about what's going to take place very soon. 30% of the world's fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizer, goes through that strait. It's made from nitrogen, and and as it says here in the fourth paragraph, 4 billion people in the world eat because of that synthetic nitrogen fertilizer. Roughly half global.
Oh God, I gotta laugh at this comment here from Carney that the life in Canada is more affordable than the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Correct. So we're in big trouble, and the strait continues to be closed. I just seen a report before I came on here tonight that says it's going to take 6 months to get to clear the landmines, or whatever they call them, not landmines, the sea mines, or out of the strait. It's going to take 6 months to do it. So I don't think anybody's going to venture out and have their ship blown to nothing. Our problem is, and these guys know it, and so when the war started in Ukraine, Russia, for Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritimes, you're not going to believe this, but 95% of our nitrogen fertilizer came from where? Russia. And 2 ships were held off out in about 1st of March. They were held off from coming down to St. Lawrence in 1922, I believe that was the year, and they wouldn't let them in. Trudeau wouldn't let them in because he said we're at war. And then what happened is the farming community heard about it, raised hell. They let the ships in. Fertilizer was costing about $500 a ton. We paid $1,500 a ton for that fertilizer that year, and we didn't get any grant, any money from the government. We paid for that to grow that crop, and subsequently the prices stayed up. What's happened just recently, now what they've done is they've changed the nitrogen coming from overseas, from that area, not out of Russia. But the problem is, hey, Ed, slow down just a little bit. You're going a little too fast for me. So what the problem is that the fertilizer prices went up about $300, $400 again this year. Here in Canada, we actually, if we didn't export some urea, then we would actually have enough, because they actually make urea or nitrogen fertilizer out in the prairies. We have nothing here in the east at all for production. But if we didn't export, we would be okay. But again, our price, we're paying for the food that's going on everybody's table this year, again on the backs of Canadian farmers, because our prices went up. Of course, our diesel price is up. Virtually everything like everybody else, our price is up. The problem is the price that we get is down. And even though cattle prices are historically the highest they've ever been in the world, or in the life of beef farming here in Canada, it's still hard to make any money, because if we're buying the animals back to fatten again, those animals are all it's done is increase the farmer's debt load, because the animals, everything that they're carrying is more debt. And it doesn't matter what commodity you look at, the farmers are carrying more debt. It's almost, I believe, purposely being done, because there's going to be an end game, and when the end game comes, it's going to be just like the WEF said: you will own nothing and you'll be happy.
Well, and that, in a sense, has already happened with the Chowton case in BC, which we are going to be interveners on. And they wiped out everything. So private property is gone completely. But at the time, until we have that overturned. But you're absolutely right. The debt is more than ever. And this is where I was talking about, where they're getting the big companies to monopolize everything. They're going to grab everything. They're going to be the monopoly. And that's what it's going down to. It's all about getting rid of the family farmer and getting rid of all the family farms. And you see it. They don't want you to have any being able to grow your own food or anything. This is why they have in municipalities that come up with this. You can't have more than X amount of chickens. You can't, all that kind of stuff. You can't grow your own food. Again, no right, title, and interest on private property. People need to start pushing back. You got constitutional rights, everything. That's on that end of thing. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. I just want to point that out.
Again, I 100% agree with you, Steph. But the problem is that I don't know if you want the right word to call the people that, whether they're freedom people or they're I don't know the right word. I'll just use freedom people. We've been totally disorganized. We don't see really what's going on, and I've tried to enlighten, but it seems to be totally impossible. So, and it is an upwards thing, but we could do so much more. But that's where we're at. The problem I have, sorry to again, the problem I have is that, we set up here locally. I helped set up across Ontario. I helped set up in even in the States, to try to encourage people to grow gardens and kind of the ways we're doing things here. But we had a group of 800 some people, and the vegetable farmers that were supposed to be growing the food for the people, they didn't make any money.
Yeah, and this is the other funny thing. I kind of giggled when you said, get a garden going on your property. And why I giggled was there was actually a case in Fort Erie where a lady had planted, I believe it was cucumbers or tomatoes, and they went after her under a site alteration bylaw because she has now altered her site and put a garden on. This is what I'm talking about. Stifling people so they cannot create their own food supply.
Correct. But there's no, like, it's a huge problem. We need to take some, but I mean, yeah, like, I go shopping locally. I see people that were supportive. They didn't get vaccinated, but they're buying Costco beef or Costco pork or Costco chicken, and it kind of hurts my feelings. I understand. I'd understand better if I knew that it was cheaper, but it's not really cheaper. It's just convenience. The convenience that all the other things that they buy is in that same store. So I don't know how I think we need to start to think more, I would say, Mennonitish. We need to think more kind of in that process. I've become friends with a big part, or not a big part, but I got a lot of Mennonite friends. I just watch them and see and how they're living and what they're doing and how they're growing their food and what they're doing and how they work, their work ethic. I think we should have came out of the COVID thing um, and aligned ourselves, but it just didn't happen, and it actually breaks my heart. But that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the Mennonite. I'm out where I'm at is I'm right in the middle of the Mennonite, so there's tons of them, and you see them every day. You know how they carry about their stuff, and I agree with you 100% on that. You know, we got to get out of that system of government trying to control a farm. At the end of the day, this is what people need to understand: private property, and this is why we are with you know I'm with the Ontario Landowners Association. We've pushed back continually, and we have been making progress. But the problem is, we can stomp out. You know, think of this issue we have as a raging fire. And off of the raging fires, we have these little sparks that are flying everywhere, and they're starting little fires around the raging fire. And we are stomping out all these little fires that are starting from it. But what we need to do is extinguish that main fire in order for those embers to stop coming off of it and starting other fires. And this is what we need to do. We got to find the crux of the problem, and we have to extinguish it once and for all. That's the only way we can do anything.
So, Ed, quick question for you.
Pull that up a little bit, Ed.
Is it possible for, say, someone to go buy 100 acres of land and throw 20 or 30 head of cattle on there
No, it's
without
not.
having the quotas?
No, you don't need quotas for beef cattle.
So it is
Beef
possible.
cattle, sheep,
You need
goats.
quota for eggs, you know, poultry, for meat, stuff like that, Ed.
No, you need quota for dairy cattle, and then all the feathers.
Yeah, all the milk cattle. This is where, sorry, the milk, the dairy product. This is why you're seeing. You know, you'll hear Trump talk about there's a certain cartel he likes to call them that are controlling everything, and this is why you know our milk is so expensive. We're in the States, you can get it for next to nothing. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah, you're. Yeah, there has to be something that goes on here. What does Edward think about farmers dumping huge amounts of milk for quota reasons? Is that also contributing to high prices of goods? No, it's not contributing to high prices of goods. The farmers are dumping the milk because they are over quota. They only can produce so much milk per week or per cow. They can only produce so much per their quota. If they go over their quota, then they get penalized, and that milk's worth virtually nothing.
Yeah, yeah, Hashem. Anytime you overproduce, you get stiff penalties on you, and not good for anything at all.
So hey, roll that up, Ed. That up. I want to finish up so I can go to this other talk I want to talk about. Where are we here? Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. I don't really think there's anything here that. I mean, the problem is, of course, is this right here is that the U.S. is get a huge 12 billion aid package. We're not getting anything here in Canada, so we're not going to get any money. I think that as far as the negotiations for this trade deal that's coming up, we're going to lose on that, and it's going to cost our farming community dearly. Not only our farming community, but each one of us in Canada. And so I don't see anything good coming out of that, out of this trade negotiations this summer. And that's where we're at. Yeah, I used to buy milk from a farm in Alberta, but the government banned it because it was probably raw milk, and because the Alberta government is the first receiver of milk, you can't sell raw milk.
Yeah, they say they have to be pasteurized and all this stuff. There was a big battle with that in Ontario here, and not only that, but there was also the one with the sheep too. So thank God the black sheep all went missing because they ended up winning that case.
So skip it to that, Ed. If go to that mRNA document I have, if you would.
This
And
was the only document I got off you.
no, you have another. Should have another one. 2 emails.
All
I
right.
say.
Separate email, I guess.
Yeah, separate email.
Ed, you're slipping while you're doing this. I'm just gonna step out for a minute. I'll be right back.
No, not right now. Not if I'm looking for this email.
So China has, of the commodities, China has right now 60% of the world's corn. I'm not talking about they're growing 60%. They have 60% put away in bins, 30% of the soybeans, 30% of the wheat, and so on and so on and so on. China's used their use of their money, making their own money, to buy up the world's commodities, and this is where we're at. And it's going to be hard for them to. That didn't turn out quite right, but anyhow, we'll put up with it. Are we going to start down into this, or we'll wait for stuff? I'll read the
Let's
first
get
part.
into it.
Huh?
Let's get into it. Unless you got things to talk about with China.
Well, how long do we have? How long does your show usually go to?
I try to keep it an hour. We're going to blow out an hour tonight for sure.
An hour. It's already not. It's already we blew an hour.
Yeah, we can go 2 hours, but I'll try to cap it at 2 hours.
Okay, I'm gonna go through this then. Keep roller up, Ed. Go up a page.
Move.
So I'm here to inform you on how a significant development has emerged with the meat industry, specifically regarding pork. In 2022, the USDA approved the use of I can't say that, an mRNA-based vaccine developed by Merck Animal Health. Recently, this vaccine has become commercially available, marking a significant vaccine development in the pork industry. Millions of doses may now be in the circulation. This means that pork you consume may contain mRNA vaccine without your knowledge, and very shortly the whole farm food industry will be emerged into this technology, as you will soon see in this report. I won't go through the whole thing, but this is a list of the mRNA vaccines that are now currently in use that have been put out. I broke this in Whitby at the Christian College. I'll tell you when I more get closer to that, but I broke this that the mRNA vaccine was, it hadn't been put out, but the technology for the vaccine that we received, the COVID-19 vaccine, was introduced through the animal side of it. So these are all, number one, the foot and mouth disease. There's a mRNA vaccine for that. The POWV vaccine. There's a mRNA vaccine for that. Rabies. There's a mRNA vaccine for that. Porcine epidemic diarrhea. That's the one I'm very familiar with. We'll get into that more in detail, but there's an mRNA vaccine for that. There's an avian influenza virus, the bird flu. There's an mRNA vaccine for that. Rabies, number 6. There's an mRNA vaccine for that. The bovine respiratory virus for cattle, there's an mRNA vaccine for that. Number 8, African swine fever, there's an mRNA vaccine for that. Keep rolling, Ed. For the chicken industry, for Merrick's disease, there's an mRNA vaccine for that. For number 10, the swine influenza virus. There's an mRNA vaccine for that, and that's the one I'm talking about. I introduced this. That's the one I was talking about. That vaccine has now rolled out into the hog industry. Unless you know your hog person that you're buying your meat from, that word right there, I can't say it again. I don't know.
Sequivity.
Equivity. That's the vaccine. You could ask him is if he's using that. If he is, that's an mRNA vaccine. Let's roll up here and we'll talk about this is what I broke. So Harris Vaccines in September of 2012, they were developing. They got bought out by Merck, and you'll see who Merck is here in a minute. They got bought out by Merck, and they were developing an mRNA vaccine that subsequently that technology from 2009 to 2012 was used for the COVID vaccine. When Trump said that we're working on this, or we have the, what did he call it? He called it the he called it a certain name. He knew that this is what they were doing. This outlines right here what they did, how it was done, how the system was pioneered by these guys, and Merck Animal Health. They were the 100% behind it, and we're going to find out who Merck was. So this deadly virus, it says here that it killed millions of pigs. In fact, it killed 23 million pigs across the USA, Canada, and Mexico. On my farm alone, I lost 16. Hey, roll back there because sorry, you're going a little too fast now. So yeah, I lost 1,600 pigs. Go down to where it says the Merck deal.
Who's Merck?
Who's Merck? Right there. Stop. So Merck is one of the biggest pharmaceutical, or biggest, and not pharmaceutical, but they're the biggest, I guess you call it, pharmaceutical company in the world that produces animal vaccines and animal stuff. They have they're in 180 countries, and they made a substance. I'll get into it if somebody asks me, but they made a substance called ivermectin. Interesting, eh? So Merck pioneered the manufacture of morphine in the 19th century. They held virtually the monopoly on cocaine. They started down this whole road on researching. They were one of the top researching, very close, of course, to Hitler. We're going to find out. Keep rolling up there. He'll stop right here. Back up a bit, a couple lines. Just back down. Go down. Okay. So this is, oh, no, sorry. The other way. Yeah. Whoa. So there's a disease that's in Africa that kills millions of people. And they researched this at this Casato Institute, in which ivermectin would become the most successful derivative. In reality, ivermectin's role in human medicine effectively began in April 1978 inside the Merck company, several years before the drug emerged on the animal health market. The highly potent bioactive of the formation broth of an organism isolated by Casato Institute in Tokyo, which had been sent to Merck's research laboratories in 1974, was first identified in 1995 by Merck. I find it interesting how Merck was able to slip it by the goalpost and get ivermectin in use without much testing.
You know, and just to interject here, don't forget it was the Kyoto Institute in Japan yet again, with the ostrich farm and all the deadly crap we were injecting into those things. So don't let big pharma and open biolab level 3 open biolabs pull on your heartstrings and make you say that these animals are all their pets. That's all bullshit. It was all grifting. You know, I'm not going to get into it, but people, keep your eyes and ears open, because they come in and they look for opportunity to make money, and that's all there is to it.
I'm liking you more now, Steph. In the years of the Nazi rule, the company was led by Karl Enamel Merck, who became a member of the Nazi Party in 1933 and subsequently received the title of whatever the heck that word is, witchcraft for.
Wirtschaftsführer.
In addition, Merck was president of the Heissing Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as performing an advisory function in the Expert Advisory Council for National Health, whatever the heck that is, of the Nazi Party. During World War II, Merck was manufacturing war essential products such as narcotics, vitamins, biocides, and other chemicals. Many other scientists in Germany went through denazification, a process in which the ethics of one wartime behavior was evaluated and sometimes cleared or whitewashed through letters of support from colleagues or friends. For those deemed to be Nazis, the denazification process resulted in a brief jail time or a fine, as the case of Karl Merck, chairman of the board. Morrow explained, these were people pretty badly caught in the National Socialism system, but because of their knowledge, they got no punishment. Basically, what I want to get at is here. Keep going now. Really, they were all tied, as you can see, to the Nazis. Merck. Who made the COVID-19 vaccine? Who led the vaccine? Who gained the technology? They did. They're the ones. Here's how it went down. So Canadian Food Inspection Agency on February 11th, 2014. Nope, you're going the wrong way.
I'm looking for it. February 11th, 2014. Got it.
Yeah. Through this Harris vaccines, what they did is how they did this. This is what I put out in at the conference that was held at the Christian College in Markham. You got to go a little bit farther. Right there. Whoa. Where an emergency exit exists with respect to availability of and need for a veterinarian biologic, the minister may exempt the veterinarian biological from the application of any of the provisions of these regulations during the period of the emergency. What happened was, what they did is when they had the outbreak of the PED, porcine epidemic diarrhea, that killed all the pigs, they administered the special provisions, the emergency provisions. They introduced 100,000 doses into the province of Ontario under emergency use. What they did, as it says, there's no special monitoring of human safety of the product were carried out. The conditions on the import permit were also required veterinarians to maintain a record of on which her premises the vaccine were used. Why is that important? Because what they did, what happened with the vaccine, do you ever hear anybody giving blood? Taking blood samples when they got vaccinated with the COVID vaccine? No. What they did is to prove that it was working, they put this out, and then they took blood samples, and then they could prove that the vaccine was working and how it was working. A pig is exactly very close to a human being, and that they used the hog industry as the in the COVID or the PED disease. If you put it underneath a microscope, it looks almost, and it's a coronavirus too. It's almost acts very similar to what the COVID vaccine was.
Yeah, and just for a little clarity for people who didn't know this, pigs are very, very similar to humans. And penicillin, you ever heard of that? The penicillin they give pigs are exactly the same as humans. And there was some pig farmers who started mass producing the penicillin themselves and packaging and giving it to people. This is going back some years. It was all over the news and everything, but they're getting it at like pennies, pennies and pennies upon pennies, where we have to actually pay some money.
Yes. So, as you can see, the animals, the hogs, were used as the, I guess you say, the guinea pigs to administer the disease, first disease, and then the trial of the mRNA vaccine. They used the pigs to do that, and then they unleashed the real hurt on us, and then used the mRNA vaccine, which they absolutely knew what they were doing. You can roll it up, Ed. This just talks about the vaccine now that's out, that's being put in the hog industry. I won't go into, I think everybody's realizing what's happening. That's basically what I just said. We saw and that's the label off the jar of the vaccine. Keep going. So I don't think I need to. Everybody here should know what the actual vaccine and how it works and how it stimulates the animal and people and what's going on. So we'll roll through that, understanding mRNA vaccines. I think everybody should understand that, because what I want to show you is something that's very dangerous that's happening. Keep going. Okay, whoa. So mRNA technology is not a vaccine. It's a genetic manipulation. And what's happening actually is that what they're doing now is they're introducing these vaccines not only in animals but throughout the food supply, in plants and everything else. And as we'll see, you can roll that up.
Hang on. This has been well explained by Canada's leading virologist, Byron Bridle. As
Good
we saw
friend
with COVID shots, pathogens adapt quickly, requiring multiple boosters to try to stay ahead of the disease. European studies cited by Peter McCullough showed the same mRNA never clears the body and is transmissible in meat to humans and survives digestion.
Yes.
Additionally, no one knows what the long-term effects of altered genes will be to either an animal or human health.
Correct.
The introduction of mRNA vaccines in livestock holds many unknowns, especially regarding the long-term health effects of consuming meat from vaccinated animals. The lack of comprehensive long-term studies on the potential health impacts for consumers is a glaring gap in the narrative supporting the technology's safety. Consumers have the right to be cautious, given the historical precedences of unforeseen health consequences in RNA vaccine innovations. Given the historical precedents of unforeseen health consequences of unforeseen health consequences in RNA vaccine innovations. Farmers use vaccines. There are no mandated vaccines for livestock raised by independent producers like myself. However, most livestock producers use vaccines. Marissa Perry, a spokesperson for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, underscored this autonomy in an Associated Press article stating, "There's no requirement or mandate that producers vaccinate their livestock for any disease. However, almost all of the large confinement operators are required to vaccinate livestock to sell them to the large meat packers." So now we're going back to the beginning of the show. Of course, all the veterinarians are taught to push them in vet schools which are funded by the same big pharma outfits pushing drugs and vaccinations on people, need it or not. As for cattle, there are several mRNA vaccines in development and undergoing clinical trials, but they are not yet commercially available. However, all the major pharmaceutical companies are pushing them through the FDA and clinical trials aggressively, so no doubt they will end up in the nation's beef and dairy herds and poultry flocks soon. The livestock industry pays extra for animals that are vaccinated, and farmers would not even have knowledge of what they are doing when vaccinating because vaccines would not be labeled. Um, okay, Ed.
So are vaccines used in other livestock, meat, or eggs? At the present time, the only one that we know absolutely for sure is the hog vaccine. But the but now I'm hearing since I wrote this that it's being introduced in beef cattle. The Don't eat any shrimp because it's virtually an all farm shrimp. Um, and it's being introduced across the chain. So it's basically what's starting to happen is it's just becoming mystery meat or milk or eggs. It's starting to become hard. The problem what people always tell me is every time I'm not an organic farmer. I believe in planting non-GMO products or eating non-GMO. And it would take me a show to talk about this whole organic thing, but anyhow,
Yeah, it doesn't really mean it's organic either. So that's the other
the
thing. But
problem is that the organic farmers on the animal side, they all believe in vaccines because they don't use antibiotics. So so it's a so it's another thing that you should be aware of what you're eating and ask some questions. Um, this just tells about the difference between mRNA and traditional vaccines and how they work. I don't, if you want to go into that, we could, but I don't really think it's really, the big problem here is, of course, the difference is for me is that the mRNA, it virtually changes the genetic code of the person or the animal or whatever that's got the vaccine. That's my, that's what I'm really against. But what's happening, of course, is this RNA breakthrough, which is starting to happen through. Um, I'm just reading this, guys. I didn't know the term organic farmer existed. I thought it was just farmers. No, there's a term. Um, but what's happening is, of course, this RNA. Um, what we're seeing now is this RNA being put into plants to increase yields. So you're starting to see when somebody comes around to sell you corn or soybean seed, um, you're starting to see that you'll see that it's RNA, like it grows better because it has a better drought tolerance. It grows a bigger ear. You're starting to see, what they're using now is the RNA technology for modification of plants. This is really dangerous, and I seen this coming, but this is now happening, and I don't think we're going to be able to stop that. So plants are being engineered, as it says here. This really provides the possibility of engineering plants to potentially improve the ecosystem as global warming proceeds, said he. So we're now seeing this being used as for that, and we're seeing it that it will increase yields, more mass, more production, better drought resistance, all these things, and they're pushing this wildly. This is how they're going to introduce it into the plant organisms. Of course, when it gets into the plant organisms, then it gets into the animal organisms, and then it gets into us. So I don't know. you know, when I was younger and and GMOs first come out, I remember my aunts, uncles, grandparents, people saying, "We're not going to eat that stuff." And you know, there was a very desire to stay away from it, to grow your own. But you cannot stay away from the genetically modified. It's almost impossible now to keep out of it.
So, a quick question here. They're asking if the animal vaccines, if they are free for the farmers.
No, the farmer. What happens in the big production facilities? The they may be supplied by an entity that's controlling the like contracting the animals. But no, they're not free. You have to buy them. And for me, I have to have virtually. I'm a veterinarian. I have to take a course yearly to be able to not administer vaccines, but to administer antibiotics to animals. And I can't really get around it because animals that we ship have to have that paperwork. 1 second, boys.
Yeah, while you look for that, I'll just let everybody know. When I was very young and in our farming, we had gotten a crop of chickens, and we all our baby chicks, and all the birds suddenly started dying off. We ended up in court against the hatchery, and what happened was the hatchery decided they were going to do some experimental testing on the chicks and injected them without our knowledge. And we ended up winning in that in court. But this is you can never trust anybody anymore of where the source is, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's crazy. Now even worse than back then.
I'm not going to show you the face side of this because it's private, but these are all the forms that I have to sign. These are all loads that have just went out of my pigs. These are all the forms I have to sign legally. I can't ship pigs. This is just for one barn recently. I can't ship pigs without filling that form out. And where I was just about to go into it, I'll take the time right now. Each farm has to have a number. They call it an identification number. If you don't have that identification number, you can't virtually get your taxes, your money, any money from the government. You can't ship animals. You can't do anything. Of course, all the animals are all tagged or tattooed. In the hog industry, we tattoo them, and we have a virtual number for our farm. And if that tattoo is not on that animal, we don't get paid for that animal. If the tag, the transponder, which can be seen or by a satellite for virtually every other animal except for poultry, the poultry are tracked by global positioning by the truck and the barns. But every animal that's got 4 feet, they all have a transponder in them. And if I was to take an animal and put it in my trailer, and for some reason the door got open and it got out in the highway, fines could exceed hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So I got a question about that. Now, is this what they are calling? I think it's something like DNR radar or something like that. Is that how they're tracking all the animals?
It's a transponder. It's about as big as a loony. It goes in like I say, in beef, sheep, goats, ears, and like you're in dairy cattle. You can't leave the farm. You have to have it in, even if in your field, it's on your property. If the animal got out, went to another farm, and you could get fined. You get fined. You cannot do anything. That tag's got to be in, and what you basically can't legally sell the animal without that tag in its ear. You can't sell the animal either. It's got to be in the hog industry. We have to tattoo the animal. We tattoo it, and then, like I showed you, we got to fill this paperwork out. I have to take a course to be able to administer any antibiotic. And I mean, to an animal, you have to have that course. If you don't have that course, you have to have a number which is assigned to every property that you have. And if you don't have that number, then you're done too. So I was on a show maybe a year ago, and a lady was talking about that she got it was the police or somebody came, or from the county or somewhere, come and stopped her from selling something at a roadside stand, like jams or something, and said, "Oh, you can't do that because you don't have a farm number." And the woman said, "Well, I don't need a farm number. I produce these jams, whatever." Said, "If you're selling that, you need a farm number." So where all this is going is, of course, is more control. And if you virtually, won't be able to buy or sell unless you're part of the system. So, we're, and as far as people want to know about if they think that there's, okay, I hear a lot of talk about this 15-minute cities, and I don't usually say bad words, but the baddest word I'm going to say is 15-minute cities is bullshit. There's no such thing as a 15-minute city. What you're going to see is 0-minute cities.
Yeah, I've researched into that. Eventually, they want to have us down to 5-minute cities. I've looked, and then beyond that, and we're talking in the future, I'm not sure how far away, then it's going to be exactly what you said, 0-minute cities. It's all going to be virtual. You're going to be locked in your room, basically, with a VR screen, and that's how it's going to be. So what I was talking about, that radar, was my bad. It's not DNR. It is DND radar. And this is something new, and it's going to be something that's highly destructive, like wind turbines are to farmlands and farm animals and to human health. So it's DND radar, and it's part of NORAD's modernization plan. And there's actually a project coming up in Clearview Township, and it's going to be bad because they're looking at it's threatening over 4,000 acres of high quality agricultural lands that's for cash cropping and for sheep farming. So this is keep an eye out, push back from this kind of garbage, because this is the federal government trying to do this is for NORAD. And like I said, it's nobody has a clue. It's called the Arctic Over-the-Top Horizon Radar Systems. That's what it's called, and they want it all to be operational by 2029. So we're not too far off that. Keep an eye out on that and push back like crazy. It's not going to be good for anyone.
So
Okay,
answer that.
so hang on. I know a lot about this because I heard from Scotty that they're going to be setting this thing up. The transmission site, they've picked, I think it's around Fenland Falls. They're up in the Kawarthas, Bobcaygeon area.
Yep.
They've already got the site picked. It's over, I think it's 10,000 million watts of power going out.
Yeah, Ed, right now it's in Clearview. They're trying to clear it, to bring it all in. It's Clearview Township right now.
What they're doing in Clearview Township, that's going to be the receiving site, and they're going to have antennas picking up the radio waves that are bounced off this thing. And basically what they're saying officially is, yeah, we're going to send out tons of energy into the atmosphere. It's going to go up over the Arctic. And if there's any bombers or any planes or anything coming in from the USSR or Russia, they'll have early warnings. So when they're launching these over-the-top
Ed,
yep,
that's already being done. But now we're going to have one, as you say, in Ontario.
I'm sure it's already being done.
talk about that some other time, but that's already happening.
But this one's going to be even bigger and stronger.
I don't know about that. I won't go into that details right now. But yes, I have to take a course for animal health too. But yes, you're right. Roll up the screen because I'm watching the time. I got 27 minutes, and I like to keep on time.
Sorry about that. I just had to jump in. That's all.
It's okay. It's no problem. Yeah, and of course the GMO and the CRISPR gene editing is all part of this whole technology that they're rolling out on us. And I'm already seeing this in, like, last year I combined some corn of the neighbors. Like, God, I felt like it was like the corn that was in the bin looked like the devil's corn. I never seen anything like it. And of course, I don't know how they got the use of this. It's supposed to give more milk, and I combined it, but the corn looked like a pineapple, is what it looked like. The ear was red, and it had these. It was kind of, the kernels were red, and they had these kind of white lines in them. It looked the evilest stuff I've ever seen in my life. But when I came home, I got the data for it. I looked it up, and yes, it was a new technology that they were using. Of course, in Ottawa U, they're talking about edible vaccines. They've already produced lettuce, as you can see here, lettuce that is got the spike protein or the MNR.
Are they trying to say that this is to prevent lettuce from catching COVID-19, or that's the vessel they're using to create the COVID-19 from?
No, you will eat the lettuce, and then you will get COVID-19.
So basically vaccinating the population without their knowledge through the food supply.
Correct. It says here, not only is this delivery method much easier than injectable vaccine, it will allow us to combine injectable and edible vaccines for more comprehensive immune response and protection against COVID-19 and other viral pandemics in the future. This has already been done. This is done. This is done. Done. That's a done.
So, do we know which company is doing this, or is this a farmer? This being forced on farmers?
This has been done at Ottawa U. Ottawa U. It says at the top of the article, Ottawa U is doing it, and then they're going to, I'm sure, going to sell their whatever science to some company that wants to do it. But this is not just. This is just one. Like, I don't have room to put all the different projects that's being done all across the world. This was published on May 9th, 2022. It was done then.
Again, so people just do not pay attention. And this is what I keep going over and over about. The people are not paying attention to what the hell is going on in their old country. And the funny thing is, if it's not bothering me now, why should I get involved? That's the biggest problem we have in Canada. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and it says here, the next step will be animal studies to determine the effective dosage of an antigen necessary to elect, or what's that word? Elect an effective
Expedite.
What? Excite
vaccination efforts.
Yes.
The next step will be animal studies to determine the effective dosage of antigen necessary to elicit an effective immune response. The results of this research have strong potential to take us one step closer to making edible vaccines available to the public.
And this was right in the middle of COVID-19, May 9th, 2022. And our doggone, I hate to keep punching them, but our freedom people, where were they? And that was done right at the University of Ottawa.
Nobody knew about it.
Hey, and we got the COVID nasal spray courtesy of the ostriches, all right, with the other university. So, again, people do not be fooled and don't let your heartstrings be pulled by people trying to claim their
But
pets.
this year, self-application mRNA vaccine that's been out there, talked about. Roll it up, Ed.
Uh-oh. My most
You're rolling the wrong way.
down.
Down.
More down?
Keep more down. More down. Whoa. Hey, back up just a paragraph there.
Physician mRNA research Dr. Robert Malone recently returned from Japan and described the type of reception this new jab is getting there. Japan is being used as the guinea pigs for the world for this new technology. The Japanese people are calling this the third atomic bomb, he said. These vaccines not only have the power to change the human genome of those who receive it, but they can also have this effect on people who are near those who have been vaccinated via shedding.
Keep going. Up. Go another.
The bird flu pandemic?
So we started down this hole, and they really got that whole bird flu, the dairy cows, the beef, that whole thing really transmitting. I'm not sure why they stopped it. I do have a hint of why they stopped it now, but they stopped it cold in the tracks. There's no more animals being by the bird flu, or no more dairy cows, and no more beef. And of course, it got into a small amount of pork. That seems to all have dried up. And you didn't see. There was supposed to be all these wild birds and animals and everything that were exposed to the bird flu, but I don't know. I didn't see any animals driving around through the countryside. Did crows? Did birds? Did I didn't see that. Um, I think there's something else going on, and let's roll it down again, or roll it down again. We'll just keep going here. I want to talk about that here. Of course, they have millions of these vaccines that are ready to go, so they say. Um, in Ontario, 15. One of the problems, of course, is if they find on farm an animal like a cow or a bird or that has the bird flu, of course, they draw a 15-mile secure zone around that, and then basically nothing can leave, no animals, no food, nothing can leave that area. I think it was they kind of thought that was across the world, especially in North America, that this would break the farmers' back, and because millions of chickens were slaughtered in the USA with this bird flu deal, and started knocking down a lot of dairy cattle. I thought that this campaign was going to go on, but it seamlessly stopped. And I'm going to talk about that at the end. Keep going.
They done that some years ago in Ontario here, and we had lost quite a bit of chickens that got exterminated, and some turkeys, I believe it was too. And that was right along when they had the what was that big pandemic, the SARS pandemic. That's what it was. Around that time, that they had the bird flu pandemic too.
So, can you avoid foods with MNR when eating? Currently, mRNA vaccines will not require special approvals or disclosure beyond a traditional vaccine. Additionally, as above, USDA and Canadian organic and non-GMO labeling standards do not prohibit the use of mRNA vaccines or technology. These facts ultimately mean that labels and certifications won't be a reliable means to avoid purchasing foods raised with mRNA technology. If you wish to consume foods free from mRNA gene encoding, establishing long-term trusted relationship with farmers and suppliers who will transparent with the use of mRNA vaccines in their food that they grow. We know for a fact that they want us to stop eating meat and be more sustainable to fight this made-up crisis called climate change. Stay vigilant, friends and brethren. Things are going to be rough next year. Besides the threat of pandemics, stay close to the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So I just left a little bit of a word about what we need to do as far as drawing closer to God. But one of the problems I think is why they stopped this mandate of for the I'm working on a project that's big, really big. And I'd say the last 7 to 9 years, I've been watching people, observing them, and observing their habits and observing their physique. I think what we have going on since the COVID vaccine, it seems to me that there's been more. I'm going to flyovers than there needs to be. I think hopefully people catch what I'm saying, but flyovers, things you see lines in the sky. I think that's going on. I think there's a change in the way people are, their mentality, their brain, their physique, so that they really need to vaccinate, change up the food supply, and introduce all these mRNA vaccines. I'm starting to see more this RNA technology that's in corn and soybeans. How much is there? Like how much is there? I don't know. They're definitely the crops that you consume are genetically modified. I think they've already went a step farther and put the RNA technology into these crops. So doing the animals, you might as well just put them in the crops. The animals are going to eat them, then the humans are going to eat them, and then it's all complete.
So somebody's asking a question there. If you buy the vaccines, can you, like for your animals, can you choose not to inject them after you've bought them, or do you have to use them?
No, we don't. No farmer is entitled to have to use a vaccine. Like there's no. The problem, like I said tonight, is the way the farming industry works is that say me and Ed have two sets of beef animals. Ed's animals are not vaccinated. Mine are. When I take them to the auction yard, I'm gonna get maybe 20 cents a pound more for my animals because they're vaccinated than Ed's.
So that's the incentive they give you in order to use the vaccine, is because you're going to maximize profit.
Correct. But you're not entitled to use them. You're not entitled or have to use them. The problem where it becomes is in the bigger farming industry, where they actually the animals are already vaccinated before you get them. But the situation is this: it's going to become, and like we're at a point in our farming store side that So like we have about 50 cows, beef cows. What if I need I sell 100 beef animals this year? Where am I getting the other 50? I have to buy them in the market or buy them from another farmer. There's no certification. Like you can't go and say, "Hey, here, sign this form that you didn't vaccinate your animals." Right? The problem is larger than that because let's say the farmer said, "Hey, I want to buy another cow to like now I want to buy another cow to expand my herd." Well, where the hell did that cow come from? How do you know it's free of vaccines? How do you know? I mean, it's even like how does a woman or a man know that it's just his word that says, "Oh, I didn't get vaccinated."
So before in the day of they're starting to do this mRNA garbage. So when we were in the still in the poultry industry, so we got out of it in 2011. At that point in time, uh, if your crop had to be vaccinated, I'm talking poultry here, they were not allowed to go to market. They couldn't go to the processor or the processor and go to market within a certain prescribed
21 days.
right. So prescribed time period, and that's to get the vaccine to run its course and stuff, so it doesn't for safety reasons, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So where is it suddenly now? They're giving you extra money to vaccinate these things, which are now they know are going to affect people. So they are going to now make genetic change, something like that to them. So where did that change? Was that change in legislation, or it has to be somewhere in there? Is that the Health and Food and Drug Act, or where's that at?
Well, um, there's no legislation that, like I pointed out at the end of this, there's no legislation that they don't have to label it. They don't have to tell. There's
They
no.
don't have to label it, but where did that? Which law? There has to be legislation in there somewhere that says you can't the 21 days, for example. Where
No,
did that?
sorry, Steph, the talk over you. They took that off the table.
What? And so
I would say probably. I would say somewhere probably in that 2010, sometime in the time frame you sold your thing, 20, somewhere in the last 10 years, 10, 12 years, that's all been taken off the table.
So that to me that's just insane.
Huh?
To me, that's insane that they would do that because they had that in place for our safety, and then they remove anything that is for our safety now and just
agreeable. But the problem is, and I know this is going to hurt some feelings, hurt some people's little feelings, but I might as well tell the truth. The problem, what they did, is you have this huge organic market or huge organic market, and all those organic people, all the organic producers, all believe in vaccinations. So what they did is because of the organic movement, they took off what we've been talking about here. They took that off to allow the safe, let's call it the safe passage of vaccines into the organic market, into that food sector, because of course they say they use vaccines, they don't use antibiotics.
Right, yeah, right. So again, all in the name of profit. And
That's where we softened the. I don't know exactly the date. I could try to find that out, but it's not here or there now. This is where we're at. And of course, when they use these things, these softening approaches, within government to soften the whole thing, and then of course they brought now the mRNA technology along, well, I don't know, 70% or 80% of the population was vaccinated. So they don't they they think everything's okay. What if we got vaccinated? Why not vaccinate animals? What's so wrong with that, Edward? You know, this is where we're at.
Well, the obvious. We've seen all the side effects that have happened. I'm dumbfounded that the food industry has allowed this over safety, and I think that the government wants this because, and the pharmaceutical companies, because all of this COVID during these from 2019 to present day, with all these shots and the boosters, I believe that is just experiments being carried out on the human population. Because I happen to know from a high-ranking pharmaceutical person that I know who even told me that mRNA has been being tested on humans since the 80s, the beginning 1980, and uh, it works beautifully. They say within the first week, but then after that, something always goes wrong, and they can't find what the problem is, so they can't figure it out. So I think this is continued testing, using us all as guinea pigs. I think we need to hold the fucking government and the pharmaceuticals accountable.
I myself, my belief is that they had it figured out. They used the pork industry, the outbreak of PED in 2013 to develop it, blood sample it, test it, because pork, pigs, and humans are very closely similar. They knew what they were doing. They introduced it into the humans, and now they're introducing it all the way across the whole every species. That it's getting in there because, of course, it's in the it's in the water. It's getting in the land. It's getting in everything.
Yeah, and here, since I have a legal background and I just can't help myself, I looked into this period, and it's as of February the 2nd, 2026, the withdrawal period for certain commonly used chicken vaccines, specifically against infectious bronchitis and infectious bursal disease in Canada, has been reduced to 7 days. So the new 7 day rule is the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So that's going to be the act it's under. Reduce the mandatory wait time from 21 days to 7 days for specific licensed vaccines, mainly to accommodate Canadian broiler production schedules, which is, again, meat for people who do not know. So this is when it was done in February the 2nd of 2026. So this has been brand new, just recently done here. And that'll coincide with the what you're talking about, the mRNAs being now used in organic and in farming and vegetables. This is crazy.
You're right, but and like I say, if you take all everything we talked about tonight and put it all together, it don't spell it's not a good. It's yeah, we're like I say, there's unless the unless the farm community, or it's not really so much the farm. There's not enough of us farmers to push back. They're just not.
And we need all of fucking Canada to wake the fuck up and push back, pardon the language. But this is, we cannot sit back and leave it to farmers. We need every single freaking person in freaking Canada to push back against this stuff and put an end to it real quick. People need to wake up.
Okay, people are talking about vaccines for the pets. As far as I know, there's only one vaccine for dogs for rabies that is not mRNA based. My veterinarian, I was being very, very vocal about it, and I said, if I'm going to put another Bubba, she's going to be 4 this summer. If I got to give her another vaccine booster, I want you to put in writing that it's not an mRNA vaccine, because if it is, I'm going to sue your ass.
Mm-hmm.
And then she looked at me, so you wouldn't do that, would you? Just talk to the town of Pickering.
That's right. Pickering found out the hard way even after we warned him, Ed.
Yeah. Anyways, Ed, thank you so much for coming on. I want to keep
You're
this
very
under 2
welcome.
hours.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate
That was
it.
a long show. You got lots of info.
And guys, I've been trying to get Ed on to talk about this for 4 months now. Finally, he made it on. Thank you so much. And
You're
Ed, if
welcome.
someone's looking for unvaccinated beef, do you know anyone?
Yeah, I do.
All right. Get a hold of Stefanos. We'll pass Ed's number on to you, or we'll have Ed call you.
You know, usually I don't mind our viewers. You know, I love them, but this Hashem guy, he's getting a little too demanding. He wants me to adjust my camera. I don't know what's going on here.
I'm ending this. We're under 2
Wait,
hours.
don't end yet. Don't end. There is for everybody. You should look at this here. Go to this Zoom link for tomorrow. There are a bunch of paralegals, but this is only one. Tomorrow, go to that Zoom link. Get in there. He has got the Law Society in court. So there's a big battle going on here with the Law Society and paralegals, and you will not believe how corrupt they are and what they're trying to do. Extra important. Pack the freaking Zoom. Everybody get up there. Extremely important. Watch it.
So,
This is, sorry. It says it's for 9 a.m., but go to log in at about 9:45. That's when you should click on the link, and it'll start at 10 o'clock. So get in there, pack it. This is incredible stuff that the Law Society of Ontario is doing. It's so corrupt, it's going to make your head spin. And this is exactly why I did not get licensed. I can only imagine the hell that I'd be going through right now if I was.
Okay, guys. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. in the morning.
Thanks for coming, Ed. Thank you. Really, amount of all the information you brought, because I didn't even know some of it. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
What's a 5:30 a.m.? What is that?
That's when I'm starting work tomorrow morning.
Oh, geez. I'll let you go. Thanks for staying up so late.
See ya.
See ya.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. And no, there's no code to get in. Just click the link that I gave you. It'll take you right in.